Hello everybody, welcome to Drawing with Waffles. Today I'm going to be drawing a picture with a background, and I really wanted to draw a picture with a background this week, so I sat down and really put my mind to it. It's a very simple background. It's just some plants that are kind of blurred. I mean, it looks like a background, so I'm happy with it. Another thing that I really wanted to try this week was to draw something that looked like sunlight was hitting it, and I've noticed that's something that's a little bit hard to accomplish, at least for me. So I looked at a lot of references of flowers, and I really paid attention to the colors that were on the flowers that sun was hitting them, or the ones that were in the shadows, and saw that, they had a bit more of an orangish tint. It was very light, and they were much more saturated than the flowers that were in shadows. So I really tried to emulate that in this picture. I've always liked lilies of the valley, the flower, and you don't really see them very often. They're not really in bouquets, at least no bouquets I've ever seen. And they're just very simple, delicate little flowers, and I really wanted to draw them. And growing up, I had a bunch. I had almost I don't know what you would call that, a huge patch in my front yard that had these lilies of the valley, and I always really liked them, so I just really wanted to draw something that used those flowers, and I thought, hey, this is a good chance for me to draw some lilies of the valley. So I've got a little bit, it's almost like a fairy girl. She's not really a fairy, but she's just standing in the flower, and each lily of the valley always has these two huge, they're almost like husks, two leaves that are, they remind me of like a husk on corn on the cob. So she's standing in between them, and she's holding them over her head. And she's also got the last little flower inside the lily of the valley on top of her head as a hat, and I thought it was really cute. And that's basically the idea behind the picture. And then as I was drawing it, I thought, hey, this is kind of cute. Maybe she is just a tiny person, and her favorite thing to do is to come by these flowers and play with them. One of my biggest troubles with this drawing was trying to figure out what to dress this girl in, and I took a break and then went on Pinterest and looked at different clothing, and I couldn't decide if I wanted her to wear something fashionable or something that was more woodland theme, like if she was a fairy. And in the end, I decided to dress her in something that was a little bit more elegant, kind of like the flower, and I gave her a peplum top, and then I was going to give her these cute almost formal looking shorts, just because of the color. I guess that's what makes them look formal, but it just really wasn't fitting, and it was making her look a little funny. So I ended up going with these almost leggings. They're not quite leggings, they're kind of running pants. So I mixed the elegance of the peplum top with the pants. They're almost for exercising, and I really liked the way it looked together. It was almost kind of like the flower, inside of these big sturdy husks, there's this elegant little flower, and I guess that was my thought process. Also, while we're looking at the line art right now, I actually want to draw your attention to the hands. I actually like the way the hands turned out. They're a little bulky in places, but I just like the way they look, and I'm actually quite happy with them, so I just wanted to point that out. Okay. I think it just goes to show you that, if you just keep working at something, eventually you're going to get something that you like. And I just wanted to tell you that because the last 4 weeks, maybe, I haven't been happy with the way hands are turning out. So, just keep trying, guys. Eventually, things start turning around. Sometimes they're not as soon as you want them to, but they do in the end. And then I'm just adding the last few florets of the flower around the stem, because the stem of a lily of the valley has all these little offshoots of little flowers, and I'm just finishing up those. And then once I was finished with the line art, since I knew I wanted to draw a background, I decided to take the line art and color it all in white, just so that I'd have a solid base to work with while I could draw the colors behind it for the background, because I didn't really want the background to mush in with the line art, because I thought it would distract me a little bit. So I just filled in that line art and started working on the background. That way, you can still tell where the character's going to be, and it's all filled in, and yep, there's the character, but I don't have to start coloring the character with the colors I'm going to end up using in the end, because then the colors might change compared to the ones in the background, and I really wanted the background to look alive and naturey, and like, you know, the sun was hitting it, like I said earlier, so I decided to do that first, and then work on the character afterwards. Then once the background was pretty blocked in, I decided to add a foreground in front of the character just to make the character look like they were actually there and not just like pasted on top. And I just added a few leaves that were like coming up front. But after I finished coloring the character, I realized the background really wasn't where it needed to be. And so later on, I do adjust the background and the foreground again. But this did give me a really good starting point so that I could go on to coloring in the character. To try and get all the colors to blend, I actually added a bit of highlighting to the character before I added any of the colors, and I added this bright gold, very, soft light to her, just so I could add some highlights, and then I actually turned that off just to color it so I can get a little bit more clean coloring, and then I turned it on later just to add the really soft highlighting, and I think it did help with making it look more like the character was actually outside. Now I'm coloring in the eyes, and I decided to give her some green eyes just because there was a lot of green in the picture, but I think for next time, I'm going to remember to use the eyes more of a highlight and not let them blend in with the rest of the picture. And so I probably should have used the pink color, which I eventually used for the her top. But for the means of this picture, it did turn out really well. It wasn't a very risky move to use a color that's already in the picture. So, I mean, it looks fine the way it is, but for the future. And then after I added a little bit of details of like seaming to her top, I moved on to her pants, which I at first colored black because that's how I pictured it in my head when I was drawing it, but I ended up changing it more to like a bright green so that it stands out from the green in the background, but it was still a nice bright neon green. Then when I colored her hair, I realized it was a little bit too dark, and I lightened that up, and I think it worked a lot better with the colors of the character. And then because I added that highlighting earlier to the drawing, whenever I turned that on or off, I feel like it really helped all the colors blend together and seem a little bit more coherent than just random colors that the character was wearing. Or that's another reason I really like that I did add the highlights before I colored it. Then I filled in the green for the leaves, and I realized the line art on the bottom, and I kind of thought this when I was doing the line art, that I didn't really want line art at the very bottom of the leaves. I wanted it more to blend in with the background, so I ended up erasing the line art and just using a brush and sort of smoothing it in with the dirt that was on the bottom, and I definitely like that a lot better than the weird jaggedy line art. But like I said, I did it jaggedy because I was expecting to erase it later, but I wanted to be able to fill it in the leaves with the paint bucket tool, so I closed the lines. But anyway, yeah, moving on. And then here's where I start having a lot of fun. I decided to add some like sunbeams that were like breaking through the leaves and hitting the character, and I just used like a selection tool and created like a sunbeam shaped selection, and then used the gradient to add this really bright greeny yellow for the sunbeam. And then I also added some little dust speckles that the sun was hitting and lighting up, and I used the exact same brush that I created for my Cinderella picture when I drew the magic going around her dress. I used the same brush that I created for that, and it really worked. I just added a little bit more spacing, and it really looks cute. I mean, I really like doing things that I don't try very often, and I also really like using my sparkle brush that I created, and anytime I get to use that is a good day, and I had a lot of fun with that. Then once I was happy with the light beams, I just adjusted the background to the foreground like I said previously, and I was done. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Here's the finished picture from bottom to top. And don't forget, you could leave suggestions for things you'd like to see me draw in the comments below. I really want to draw some fan art, but I can't think of anything to draw, which is really weird. So yeah, I'd really like that if you did that. And yeah, I'll see you guys all next week. I hope you all have a delicious evening full of waffles. Bye. Bye.